It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Thursday, October 14th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening today? It is Thursday, so we'll get some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world. We have word study with question and answer Thursday, and of course, we'll get in some thoughts for the entire week. All right, guys, so how are you guys doing today? It is Thursday once again. Hope you guys really enjoyed your head leaders preaching the Wednesday message. It's almost ending the week. I know you guys are really hopeful for tomorrow. I hope you really enjoyed today. So let's get this day started together here on the Morning Star Drive. And I want to remind everyone to keep liking and commenting. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. All right. So I am still actually in LA at my uncle's house right now. And I was able to finish this podcast before I went over to my cousin's house. So I'm not actually at my cousin's house yet to podcast. It's about an hour up past LA. It's in a place called Sherman Oaks. And there's actually 3 dogs there now. And the one thing you need to know is my cousin is like a dog rescuer. So, you know, especially dogs from Korea, the ones that are supposed to be eaten and stuff. So she rescues those dogs and then she helps these dogs get adopted and such. So it's really, really cool what she's doing. So there's an extra dog, a dog that was meant to be eaten. It's crazy, you know, a dog was meant to be eaten, is been rescued, and will be adopted by someone here in America. So really, really, it's amazing what she's doing right now too. And of course, on top of that, she was able to open up her house while she's gone, so that we can have the SS retreat over there. So I'm super, super happy about that. And also, there's something else that's gonna be kind of cool. Starting next week, from Tuesday, I will be broadcasting from Las Vegas. Yes, as crazy as that sounds, I'm going to be in Las Vegas for about 3 days. So from Tuesday to Thursday, all my podcasts will be done in Las Vegas. So that should be pretty cool. I don't think I can actually broadcast or podcast while I'm in like on the strip or in a casino or something like that. But I will be. I'll be in Vegas from Tuesday to Thursday, so that's going to be kind of cool. I'm taking you guys around the world with me too, so I'll give you some updates on what's going on. So in the background, you're going to hear some dogs barking, and this is not the dogs. Like I said, I'm not at my cousin's house. Those are the dogs from the neighbors, and they're just going crazy, and I'm not sure why, but that's what they're doing. I guess it's what they do in the mornings. But also tonight, we have a new video from Espresso with Sky. Why do bad things happen to good people? So go ahead and watch that. Good for your newcomers. Good for you to learn how to be able to answer that question too. So it's really, really interesting and good that we get some of these topics out there, because these are some of the questions that newcomers actually give to us also. And of course, we have the Sunday edition. This week we met Irene Chong, national athlete in Malaysia, a triathlete. And this Sunday, we'll be meeting another member from Malaysia too. He is the owner of a specialty coffee cafe, so that's really exciting for me. I've been to his cafe a couple times. Really, really amazing, super inspiring interview, so I hope that you guys will enjoy that also. Okay, so that means let's get into today's featured artist of the day. And today's feature artist of the day is going to be Wings in Korea, and we're going to hear their latest single, More and More. And then Jay Root from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Diver. And then last but not least, we have Renee Lai from Taiwan doing a cover of GEM, and this song is called Still That Girl, all right? So I hope as we are praying continuously at pre-dawn for the 21-day David condition, I hope and pray that everyone can put in a little prayer for all these member artists from around the world.
알지 못해 툭 치고 간 어떤 한마디에 내게 남아질 리가 시크하게 툭 털어 그분 It never affects me, 그 어떤 것도 날 멈추진 못해 내 쉬는 숨이 내 움직임이 내 가진 걸 내뿜어내 또 담대하게 또 풍부하게 인생의 파도에 부딪혀도 돼 내 사랑도 내 자유도 다 내가 선택해 of course 선 넘은 참견은 거절해 no more 괜찮아 할 수 있어 babe 언제나 시작은 미약해 갈수록 완전해진 me 우리가 바라볼 vision 더 긴장을 늦추지 마. 좀 느린 건 괜찮아. 앞을 봐 도전을 멈추지 마. Because you're gonna shine more and more. You're gonna shine more and more. Gonna shine more and more. So I'm moving on, cause I'm breathing. 지난 날 걸어왔던 수많은 날들이 날 꿈꾸게 만들어줘. 더 빛나게 만들어줘. 사라지지 않을 자연이 되어줘. 되게 도망가지 도망했다고 자책해 다시 그만. 너도 그만 가져가 그만. 하지만 거스트 나고 봐. 왜 너를 자책해 난 너로 기특해. 끝은 여기가 아닐까 자꾸만 이러고. 괜찮아 할 수 있어 babe. 언제나 시작은 미약해. 갈수록 완전해짐이 우리가 바라볼 비전이야. 더 긴장을 늦추지 마. 좀 느린 건 괜찮아. 앞을 봐 도전을 멈추지 마. Because you're gonna shine more and more. Because you're gonna shine more and more. 불어오는 바람 따라 유유히 흘러가. 그러다 보면 어느새 끝은 나오겠지. 끝은 하나의 전환일 뿐. 새로운 시작을 기대해. You're gonna shine more and more. Gonna shine more and more.
난 항상 누군가 날 안아주길 바랬으니까. 날 감싸 안아 받아주길 바랬으니까. 삼켜버릴 거라고. 그런데도 이보다 많이 고통스러울까. 시리도록 따뜻하구나. 시리도록 따뜻하구나. 시리도록 따뜻하구나. 시리도록 따뜻하구나. 나 시리도록 시리도록
当年我13岁，写的这首歌，公主每天在睡，梦里当游客，梦里爱上谁，都一定匹配。梦里痛的不懂得恐惧，痛的不用面对，追不过来的时间，做梦做的陶醉，但是我过的脸一再不可见。当那天真的我从梦里穿越现实，我曾经自由的脚步从此受到牵制。梦醒了吗？你的话像锋利的剑，能踏什么？这句话越听越可怜。小孩被逼长大，那受尽的瞳孔被逼放大。百年沉睡的歌王主，为了梦挣脱现实的束缚。他不愿背叛自己虚假的承诺，他不愿过着没有梦想的生活。他能否别忘了我？我是抬头望着天空，拿着想飞的风筝，但现实却只在我身后一直拉着我的手。如果生活必须让我变成被困住的手，为何不能让我永远都被困在一个梦？梦醒了吧，你的话像锋利的剑，能那是的吧？这句话越听越可怜，你忘了吧，还是却忘了吧？才让曾奋不顾身追的梦只剩一个和弦。百年沉睡的公主，为了梦挣脱现实的束缚。她不愿背叛自己虚假的承诺，她不愿过着没有梦想的生活。她能否别忘了我？我是抬头望着天空，拿着想飞的风筝，但现实却只在我身后一直拉着我的手。如果生活必须让我变成被困住的手，为何不能让我永远都被困在一个梦？梦醒了吧，你的话像锋利的剑，那是的吧？这句话越听越可怜，你忘了吧，还是却忘了吧？才让曾奋不顾身追的梦只剩一个和弦。百年沉睡的公主，为了梦挣脱现实的束缚。她不愿背叛自己虚假的承诺，她不愿过着没有梦想的生活。她能否别忘了我？她能否别忘了我？
And there you have it. That is Renee Lai from Taiwan with that song cover from GEM, Still That Girl. Before that, Diver from J Root from PMA in Korea. And of course, feature artist of the day is More and More from Diawings in Korea. All right, so let's get into some news going on around the world. And we're going to start off with some coronavirus updates. And yes, I do believe the coronavirus updates. I'm not sure how much we're into it anymore because, we just know it's there. It's kind of part of life. And eventually it's going to, like a lot of doctors say, it's going to become a part of life anyways. So I am thinking pretty soon to get rid of this coronavirus updates. I don't know how necessary it really is unless all of a sudden it starts to spike again, right? But the numbers do seem to be going down more and more. In the world, there are 239.7 million cases up to date and 4.88 million deaths at a 2.04% mortality rate. Top 5 countries going by daily infection rates and daily death rates. You have the US on top, and of course the numbers are going up because it's Thursday. For some reason, it's just the trend that is really low during the week from like Monday to Wednesday, and then all of a sudden on Thursday and Friday it gets really high. But it's not actually as high as it was last week either. The US not even hitting 6 digits. It's still at 84,000 cases, 1,480 deaths. Then the UK, 38,000 cases, 181 deaths. Turkey, 33,000 cases, 237 deaths. Russia, 28,000 cases, 973 deaths. And then Romania, 16,000 cases, 442 deaths. Over here in North America, of course, the U.S. on top, and then we have Canada in second with 2,300 cases with 69 deaths, and then Mexico 2,000 cases with 141 deaths. So let's get into the top 3 news going around the world, and we're going to start off with the U.S. So the U.S. is going to reopen the Mexico-Canada borders for fully vaccinated travelers only. And the U.S. has said it will reopen its borders with Mexico and Canada to fully vaccinated travelers from November. And in a statement, its Department of Homeland Security said it will allow travelers for non-essential purposes via land and ferry crossings too. And from January 2022, it will also require proof of vaccination for any travel over these crossings, essential or not. Now, the U.S. has restricted travel from its northern and southern neighbors since March 2020 due to the COVID pandemic, but President Joe Biden's administration recently revealed that restrictions on fully jabbed air travelers would be eased in November. Now, the current rules bar entry to most non-U.S. citizens who have been to the UK, China, India, South Africa, Iran, Brazil, and a number of European countries within the last 14 days. And in a statement, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said his department was pleased to be taking steps to resume regular travel in a safe and sustainable manner. But he didn't say when the changes would come into effect. Last week, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said all visitors must receive vaccines approved or recognized for emergency use by the WHO and the U.S. FDA. And at present, vaccines developed by Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna have been approved in the U.S. And the WHO has also supported these 3 along with others made by AstraZeneca, Sinopharm, and Sinovac. Now, news of the upcoming announcement has drawn praise from U.S. lawmakers with constituencies along the Canadian border. Among them was Chuck Schumer, the Democrats' Senate Majority Leader. He basically said that kudos to President Biden for doing the right thing and increasing cross-border travel between Canada and the U.S. And of course, this reopening will be welcome news to countless businesses, medical providers, families, and loved ones that depend on travel across the northern border. Added New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Now, the announcement of new rules in September was a surprise to many, coming days after the U.S. government said it was not the right time to lift restrictions, and the U.S. has recorded more than 42 million coronavirus cases since the pandemic began and over 670,000 deaths. In second news, it's Russia. Russia hits new record for daily COVID deaths at 973. And of course, we know that this is really not true. It's probably way more than this. In the past, they just didn't report it. Government Coronavirus Task Force reports 973 coronavirus deaths, the highest daily toll since the start of the pandemic. Russia hit another record of daily coronavirus deaths on Tuesday as the country struggled with a rapid surge of infections and lagging vaccination rates. And authorities, however, have been adamant there will be no new national lockdown. Now, the government coronavirus task force reported that 973 deaths, right? The highest daily toll. And Russia has repeatedly hit record daily death tolls this month. And daily infections also have been hovering near all-time highs with over 28,000 new cases reported on Tuesday. Now, despite the rapidly mounting toll, the Kremlin has ruled out a nationwide lockdown, delegating the power to make decisions on toughening coronavirus restrictions to regional authorities. Now, the soaring infections have raised the pressure on Russia's healthcare system, with hospitals filling up quickly. And speaking at a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Health Minister said 11% of Russia's 235,000 hospitalized COVID patients were in serious or critical condition. Now, overall, Russia's coronavirus task force has registered more than 7.8 million confirmed cases and 218,000 deaths, the highest death toll in Europe. Yet the state statistics agency Rosstat, which also counts deaths which the virus was not considered the main cause, has reported a much higher toll, around 418,000 deaths. And if that number is used, Russia would be the 4th hardest hit nation in the world during the pandemic after the US, Brazil, and India. Even the lower mortality figure only shifts Russia down to 5th place after Mexico. So the Russian government has blamed the sharp rise in infections and deaths that began last month on a slow vaccination rate. Only 47.8 million Russians, or about 33% of its nearly 146 million people, have received at least one shot of a coronavirus vaccine, and about 29% are fully vaccinated, the government said on Friday. So, speaking at a meeting with newly elected Russian lawmakers, President Putin emphasized on Tuesday the importance of broad vaccination and urged lawmakers to help encourage the population to get their shots, right? So, but more than anything else, life kind of remains largely normal in Moscow and many other Russian cities, with businesses operating as usual, and mask mandates loosely enforced. So in Moscow, the authorities expanded free coronavirus tests in shopping malls, hoping it would help stem its spread. So that's the second news. Last news, top three news, is going to be about Spain. So hundreds more to flee on the Spanish island as volcano erupts. So La Cumbre, I'm not sure if this is the right way to say it, La Cumbre Vieja began erupting on September 19th and has already forced more than 6,000 people from their homes. Nearly 1,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate their homes on La Palma in Spain's Canary Islands as lava continues to ooze from its volcano. Emergency services wrote on Twitter on Tuesday a new evacuation order was issued owing to the forecast of the advance of the lava flow. So La Cumbre Vieja began erupting on September 19th and has already forced more than 6,000 people from their homes, with lava wrecking 1,200 buildings and scorching 600 hectares, 600 hectares on the Atlantic island off Morocco's coast. Now, there were 64 seismic movements on Tuesday, the strongest measuring 4.1, the Spanish National Geological Institute said. And on Monday, about 3,000 people were ordered to stay indoors after lava destroyed a cement-making facility and raised fears that toxic gases might be released. Now, despite the significant damage caused by the eruption on La Palma, home to 85,000 people, nobody has been killed or injured, so that's great news there. So after the volcano's cone partially collapsed on Saturday, a new river of lava streamed towards the sea, devouring banana and avocado plantations and most of the remaining houses in the town of Tudok. It is the island's third volcanic eruption in a century, the last one taking place in 1971. So that is a top three news for today. Hope you guys really get an idea of what is happening around the world, sometimes in your place. If you have any news that you really think I should report, go ahead, put it in the comments, or just hit me up on my DMs or PMs, all right? So in sporting news, top three news, we have Major League Baseball, and we have 3 of the 4 series that have finished, right? So just the other day, the Red Sox beat the Devil Rays, so they move on. The Braves beat the Brewers 5-4, and then they move on. And then Houston beat the White Sox 10-1, and they also move on. The only series that is still going on is over here in LA. It's the Dodgers and Giants. Dodgers won 7-2 the other day, and now the series is tied at 2-2. So they have the rubberneck match today. All right, so that's going to be quite exciting to see that one too, especially here. Well, it's not going to be in LA. It'll be all the way over there in San Francisco. In NHL opening night, finally the NHL season is beginning. There was 2 games, Pittsburgh and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Pittsburgh won 6-2, even though the Lightning are the reigning champions for 2 years straight, and Pittsburgh was without their 2 best players, Crosby and Malkin. Kraken, the Seattle Kraken, first game ever. Because they're just a new franchise. They lost to the Las Vegas Golden Knights 4-3, but 5 players of theirs were on COVID protocol. So that's another thing. But, it kind of ruined their opening night. Hopefully they could have won. But, 4-3 game is a really exciting game itself, too. Last but not least, we have Soccer World Cup qualifying. Portugal defeats Luxembourg 5-0, and Ronaldo has 3 goals. England ties with Hungary. Japan defeats Australia 2-1, and Korea ties with Iran 1-1. So that is the top 3 sporting news, top 3 news of the world news, and of course coronavirus updates. Hope you guys really enjoyed that more than anything else, which means we're going to get into the golden time. Yes, so what is going on? We're going to have a time of praise and worship, and I hope that it'll be something that all of us can really think about and, prepare our hearts so that we can get into the word study. Of course, today's question and answer Thursday, so there's some good questions coming up, and we should be thinking about this a lot more deeply, but I'm really, really thankful that we get some good questions coming out too. So let's start off with some praise and worship. We'll start with The Lord Whom I Miss, and then I'll preach with fire, and then we'll end things down with from One Seed, all right? So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
I finally opened my eyes do once more. Now I stand closer than before. As I learn more of my love, I have realized, oh my Lord, I miss you. Through your deep love, oh my Lord, my heart has changed and matured. Lord, in you I have found true joy. I give my heart and my affection, I give all my love. I resemble you, my Lord, and grow every day. The love of love, the world of heaven, now it's been fulfilled. Lord, I miss you so. To the end you gave truth and love, then you had to go. Oh my Lord, I miss you. Equipped with love and the truth, I'll use my life for your will. I will live boldly for you, Lord. Through perfect truth and your love, I have realized, oh my Lord, I miss you. Through perfect truth and your love, I have now grown and matured. Now I will sow the seeds of hope as I go out and preach the gospel. As I love you, Lord, I will live as heaven right. I will testify. And now on earth the Lord's ideal is fulfilled in you. Lord, I miss you so. Lord, I miss you so. Lord, I miss you so. It starts the history of apostles, and now Providence is standing as one. We will testify with fire, with the Spirit we will preach, until the will of the Trinity is fulfilled. So come to this perfect history of brides now. So come and receive the water of life. I will preach about the rapture which fulfilled creation's will. I've witnessed it, so I will testify. Holy Spirit, please, won't you stay with me? I'll testify for him and this history with all my heart. I have seen the rapture, I have lived it, I am sure of it, so I will testify. have seen the history of God here. I have seen how his history's been fulfilled. So no one can defeat me. I have seen the person sent. I have received the Holy Spirit's fire. Holy Spirit, please, won't you stay with me? I'll testify for him and this history with all my heart. I have seen the rapture, I have lived it, I am sure of it, so I will testify. Holy Spirit, please, give your fire to me. I'll testify for him and this history with all my life. I have seen his sacrifice, I've seen it, so I'll preach for him. With fire I'll testify. Oh Spirit, oh Spirit, please be with me. Send down your fire. Oh Spirit, please walk through me. Let us testify for him as one. Send your power to me. Send your fire to me. I can't deny that you have sent your fiery spirit here. I will run as an apostle for you, as a raptured bride. Now I will testify. Send your power to me. Send your fire to me. The heavens and the earth will be shaken by the Spirit's power. When your fire has been poured upon us, then the world will change into a golden field. Oh Spirit, oh Spirit, oh Spirit, pour down on me. 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 Oh Spirit.
To save us, they sent us one seed. That seed was sown and blossomed on the earth. And from that seed, history of the New Testament crew. From one seed that golden field was made. Now that history has passed and gone away, a new time has come, a new seed has been sown upon this earth, and from that seed alone, the field of heaven grows, the harvest goes on, as spirits rapture up to you. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Like you, I'll be a seed. Now, like a seed becomes a golden field, I will sow my life and spread this history all throughout the world. And just as you, my Lord, were thankful all the time, I will do the same. I'll harvest and transform myself. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Oh my Lord, my only love, you have called me to the new history that like a seed, you took my spirit to that place, you made me triumph through your grace. So I'll offer thanks and love to you, Lord, my bridegroom evermore. I will offer thanks and love to you, Lord, as I become a seed.
And there it is. That is From One Seed. And I know that a lot of people really, really like that song. Before that, I'll Preach with Fire. And of course, The Lord Whom I Miss. All right, guys. So we're going to get into some word study today. And of course, it is Thursday. And every Thursday, we do have a question and answer. And we do have a good question here. Okay. And the question here has to do with the newcomer. Here's the question. So the question is about a newcomer. And several months ago, there was a newcomer that they've been teaching, and this person has a boyfriend and would like to marry this person in around 2 years, okay? And she's not sure whether she can teach about the second coming or not. And the only thing she's taught her so far is about like parables and revelations, and of course, an intro lessons also. And she's not sure if she can teach her about the second coming or not. So what are the suggestions you can give to this situation? All right. So as we look at this, the one thing I like about this question and answer is these are real situations. They're not like, have you ever thought about this? But these are really, really real life situations that people are going through. And they have real, and these are things that maybe we will deal with in the future also. So it's been a couple months now, and they've taught the intro and up to parables and revelations. Okay, so and they're still wondering, should I even teach them? Can I even teach them about the second coming? And of course, the situation is they have a boyfriend, and they're close enough, or they've gone their relationship has gone far enough where they're also thinking about marriage within the next 2 years. So that's a really big situation. And of course, I know that there are some people out there that might say, oh, don't even evangelize them because, they're about to get married. And the answer is, it really depends on the situation. It really does, right? Because it depends on how big the church is, what the situation of the church, like for instance, what if you don't have any people that age, or what if you don't have anyone who could take care of them, or there's just so many different matters that it's very hard to say, no, you can't teach them anymore. And personally, in my head, if it's a general situation, I do not think because they have a boyfriend or girlfriend or they're about to get married, is there a reason why you should stop teaching someone. I don't think that's a reason at all, because that's like saying that only single people deserve to be, saved, which is kind of weird, isn't it? If that was the case, then we wouldn't have JS. So when you're looking at this, okay, so number one is the first thing you have to deal with is not about the boyfriend or girlfriend. The first thing you have to deal with is whether you can teach this person or not. That's the number one thing. And I know that some people can get distracted by, oh my gosh, but should I even try because they're in a relationship? No. First, you got to figure out more than anything else is this person teachable? Are they ready? More than anything else. And it is kind of telling, because there's a hint in the question of, it's been months, right? Months, and they've only learned intro, parable, and revelations, which means that they probably haven't been consistent either. Right, so there's another thing that we have to keep in mind also. And of course, there'll be a lot of questions that I would ask too, well, how consistent are they? What are their reactions? Have they wanted to change? Do they want to do more? What is their lifestyle? There's a lot of different questions you can ask. But first, we need to figure out, is this person ready to listen to the gospel or not? Everything else is secondary, right? Because in our heads, remember, we have to think to ourselves if Providence was only for single people, then that would be a big issue. Oh no, we can't evangelize because they're in a relationship. But no, that's not the case, because we have a department for people who had a relationship before coming to Providence, right? For JS, who are married, right? So that's not an issue. The issue we're dealing with right now is this person teachable or not? Right? And that's the thing that we have to think about first before anything else. And I hope that's going to be the number one thing that we kind of put into our hearts and our minds. Oh, okay, so this is the thing that's going on. Okay, so when we look at this, we'll be okay, so is this person teachable or not? And that's something you need to, I would suggest, because I don't know the full situation, you need to know the situation really well. Plus, have good discussions with probably a mentor, department leader, head leader, whichever it is, depending on the size. And this is something that I would also, that also really depends on the size of your church. For instance, should everyone talk to a head leader about this? And the answer is no way. No. Should you talk to the head leader about everything? And the answer is no way, right? Why? Well, because in a large church, you don't need to talk to the head leader. Just talk to your group leader, team leader, or department leader. That's, that it should be done in there, because the career department leader is focused on career, right? JS department is focused on JS. The head leader is checking out all situations. They might be able to give you some good advice, but in a large church, you should be going directly to your group leader, squad leader, or your department leader more than anything else. Head leaders, the larger the church gets, the wider and the broader the responsibilities become. But of course, in a small church or even a pioneering church, the head leader is going to be the leader for everyone. So it's a little bit different, right? So I do suggest that one there for sure. All right. Second thing that you do have to think about is, find out about her background and find out, remember, right now we're just trying to figure out, is she teachable? Is she ready for it or not? And you should take out that relationship part out of the equation first. Okay. Now, after you figure out discussions, talking to your leaders and talking to, figuring out, is this person ready or not to listen to the message, right? If they are, then you have to think about the next step is, okay, so their situation is different because it's not just a relationship. It's a relationship that is gone far enough that they are considering marriage. Okay, so if they've gone far enough to consider marriage, then we have to think of the next step is, all right. So one thing I do want to tell everyone is, our goal and our purpose is not to break up people. You shouldn't be doing that, right? If they're already in a relationship, as they come to learn the word, your goal shouldn't be to break them up. That is the wrong goal. Right? Because the goal, then all of a sudden, if that becomes a goal and a purpose, then all your lectures and all the things you talk about are pushing towards them breaking up, which is really bad. Because they can feel it. Or they can resent you later for it, especially if they're close enough to get married. right? Those decisions belong to them. We can pray about it, but I would never push it. It would never be a goal. And I've talked about this. I talk about this instance once before. There's people in the past that I've taught that we're going to get married within a year. But the goal wasn't to break them up. That's not the point. The point is for them to hear the words of God. And when they hear the words of God, when they realize themselves, I don't know what God wants for them. God will inspire them. God will lead them the way that they should. How do you know that God's purpose is not for them to get married, right? You don't. You're not God. What if God says they should, right? If you try to break them up, they'll resent you, or later on, if you tell them to and then they break up, and then later on they'll come back to you and say like, oh, it's your fault. You're the one that ruined my life. No, that's not our job. Our duty, our role is to teach the words of God and help them to live a better life, right? To live the life so that they become raptured brides. These other things, these are free will decisions, and it's not something that we should do. And that's why one of the things I do is if someone is a newcomer and their relationship's that far in, like they're about ready to get married, I would treat them literally like JS, like they're already married. I wouldn't, just teach the wife, teach the fiance, whatever it is. I would go to that extent. That extent is what? The extent is, hey, just treat them like they're married, right? No need to think about this. If your newcomer was married, would you try to make them divorce? And the answer is absolutely not. It wouldn't even be a goal, right? It's just to teach them and help them in their life, right? To come to God. In the same way, if people have gone that far, that's a great, strong bond of a relationship that's not just easily broken, right? And that's something that we do have to consider. And because of that, maybe you can pray about it if you think it's the right thing, if you really believe that's what God wants. And in most cases, think about this. If they're not going to marry for 2 years, a lot of things can happen in 2 years, and it shouldn't be you. You shouldn't be the wrecker, the home wrecker, the one that's breaking things up. You should be the one that's loving them, supporting them. You should be the one that they come to for counseling, for mentoring. And, we give them the best advice that God can give, right? That's the number one thing that matters more than anything else, right? So I really hope that we can really be able to handle these situations really well, but we really need to understand that a lot of the things that we are talking about and a lot of things that we do, we really have to get it to a point where the issue is about loving people absolutely no matter what, right? Because that's what we're called to do. And if we can get that as the number one thing, this is when evangelism will happen the best, is if there's so much love in the church. And I really hope that becomes the number one thing, more than trying to question people, what they're doing, why they haven't come to church. No, it's just loving people more than anything else. And I think that would be a much, much better way for a church and the church atmosphere to grow. Okay, so that would be my answer to this newcomer who has a relationship and they want to get married in 2 years, and not sure if they can teach the second coming or not. And that would be the number one thing I would deal with first. And then the second part is how should we treat the situation? Right? It's not like they're like 15 years old in a relationship. That's completely different, right? This is their older career, and they're getting ready to get married. So that's how I would kind of suggest in this situation. If you guys have any other ideas or suggestions, go ahead and put that in the comments. I would love to hear that too. I'm sure a lot of you have been through similar situations with leading or teaching, or those of you out there who are JS or family members would like to give their 2 cents. I would love to hear that too, because everyone has different experiences and different wisdoms that they can share. Okay, so that is the question and answer for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed that, and something that can make you guys think that we are going to be facing these situations more and more as we go into the future. Okay, so that means we're going to get into today's song of choice. And today's song of choice on every Thursday, my favorite is Boy Band Thursday, right? So on Boy Band Thursday, I chose a song that I put on long, like maybe 2 years ago almost, right? Not 2 years, 1 year ago. And this is from One Direction. I started getting into them only because of this Boy Band Thursday. I had to start looking up more bands than just 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys, and like New Kids on the Block. So this is when I started kind of reaching out, and I found other boy bands. And One Direction, they came together because of what is it? Is it UK's Got, no, the one that Simon Cowell does. Is it Britain's Got Talent? Something like that, right? And he formed this group One Direction, became a huge hit. And this is probably one of my favorite songs from theirs. This is called What Makes You Beautiful, all right? So everyone, please welcome today's Boy Band Thursday song of choice, One Direction with What Makes You Beautiful.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. So come on, you got it wrong. To prove I'm right, I put it in a song. I don't know why you're being shy and turn away when I look into your eyes. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
And there it is. That is One Direction with What Makes You Beautiful. That is a UK boy band. They're no longer together, but like one of their lead singers, Harry Styles, is still doing really, really well with his solo albums. But I hope you guys really enjoyed that song. Really fun song. It is a total boy band song too. That is What Makes You Beautiful. All right, cool. So that goes into today's. I want to go into some thoughts today. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys something. I watched a movie on Netflix the other day. It was called Acts of Vengeance. What was it called? I forget what it was called. It's with Antonio Banderas, and what happens is he basically he's a hotshot lawyer, and then what happens is his wife and child, his daughter, like 13-year-old daughter, gets killed by someone, murders them, and then he spirals into drinking and even going to like some type of cage fighting, just getting beat up by people, right? And then in the end, what happens is he hits rock bottom, and then he runs into this book. He finds this book, and it's written by Marcus Aurelius. And I'm not sure if you guys know who Marcus Aurelius is, but Marcus Aurelius, he was the Roman emperor from like 161 to 180 AD. Okay, and he was someone very, very wise, and someone who wrote, he's kind of like at a very, very elite and high level of thinking, and he had more ideas on what something called like Stoic philosophy. And I'm not reading the books or anything like that, but this guy's reading the books. But there was a few quotes that came out of this book called Meditations that Marcus Aurelius wrote, the Roman emperor, and it's basically his private notes to himself on Stoic philosophy. Right? And it's kind of like Stoicism is like Greek Hellenistic philosophy, right? And it's very interesting because it's a philosophy of bringing yourself to what you call like a eudaimonic virtue. Now, eudaimonic basically means having a condition or a state of good spirit, or happiness or welfare, right? So it's basically a system of logic and its views on how the world actually works, like the natural world, and it practices virtue, and it's very, very interesting. But the Proverbs that he wrote is so, I listened to it, I was like, wow, that's really, really deep, like some of these Proverbs. And it's kind of going off the thoughts of, like, we just... I interviewed Irene Chong this week, and if you guys listen to her, she's at an elite level of athletics. And one thing Sunseem said is, you guys remember in the past when Sunseem talked about, the people who understand me the most, we would think are the ones that prayed or the ones that did this. And he's like, no, the people who are at the elite level. And he talked about like CEOs understand him the best, understand his Shimjung the best, because they went through a similar thing to become that great. You know what I mean? So he would talk about like the Hyundai CEO. Sunseem can give one proverb, one sentence, and the CEO is like, I got it. I know exactly. He knows the exact Shimjung because they went through the same thing. And this is how big it is for actions, right? Actions are that big. And when you look at like Irene Chong, she's an elite athlete, national triathlete, and you can tell just in her interview the level of her mentality is so high that where normal people give up, she would go far beyond it. And when you listen to her, she doesn't have to say anything spiritual, but when you listen to her mentality, you're like, oh, wow, and you're just inspired, right? And in the same way, too, when you listen to these people at very, very high-level elites, you're going to see that they have very similar thinking and philosophy, right? So, like, for instance, there's about three quotes that I saw that were like, wow, it is really, really powerful, right? So one of the ones I'm just talking about now is Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, his 12 books that he wrote, personal notes to himself on Stoic philosophy. He says, words are opinion and not fact. And you might think to yourself, no, because you could just talk about facts. He says, no. This is what he wrote. He says, words are just opinion and not fact. Only action is truth. Right? And you're like, wow. Right? And this sounds exactly what like Sunseem would say. It sounds like the exact same thing that Jesus would say, right? Because when you reach a very, very high level, it's like that makes sense. Right? All these people had to take action to get to that level, and there's no other way. And they've probably heard many people come to them with words saying, oh, I'll do this, and I'm this great, and I'm this great. But in the end, they realize the words are just opinion of that person. They're not facts until there are actions. And the actions will tell you the truth about this person, right? And when I was listening to this, I was like, wow, that's really, of course, in the movie, he uses this to take revenge on his wife and daughter. And you might think to yourself as, oh my gosh, and in the end, he finds the killer, right? And the interesting thing is he found the killer because the killer killed his wife and daughter because this person's daughter was killed by someone, and then this guy who's the lawyer, was able to get this person off on a technicality. And that's why this person was so bitter against this lawyer. But in the end, what happens is, like, this guy's getting ready to kill him. He's already stabbed him in the side once, and then he's about to just shove this knife projectile object into this guy's throat, and then he stops and he remembers that one of the quotes from Marcus Aurelius, right? It's kind of like his Bible, right? Is the best revenge is to be unlike your enemies. And he's thinking to himself is, if I kill this guy, then I become just like him. So he spares his life and the guy goes to jail, right? So the crazy part is we look at this and we're like, wow, this is the same thing that Jesus said, love your enemies, right? Or even in the book of Proverbs, well, I'm gonna have to look this up because there is this really, really good proverb. It's from the book of Proverbs, I believe. Yes, Proverbs chapter. No, that's not it. Sorry, that's not it. It's okay. So what the main point of this, was it a psalm? Right? So what happens in this psalm or this proverb talks about how to treat a person, right? Oh, it's Proverbs 25. Okay? It says, if your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head and the Lord will reward you, right? So it's interesting because your enemy is treating you a certain way. And if you start treating them really, really well, you will heap burning coals on his head because they're expecting, they expect you to do the same thing to them and then you become even, right? The worst thing people hate is debt. Right? So imagine you treat someone so bad and then they don't treat you bad. They treat you so well. It's like heaping coals on someone's head, right? And it's very similar to best revenge is to be unlike your enemies. Don't do the same as they do, right? And a very interesting thing too, I was listening to a podcast by Mike Tyson. Those of you guys don't know Mike Tyson. He was the heavyweight champion of the world way back in the 80s. And everyone knew about it. He was like the greatest boxer ever to me, right? And he was talking to another guy. His name is Terry Crews, and he's an ex-NFL football player. But at one point, he beat his dad up for hours because his dad always beat up on his mom when he started drinking. So one day, he was so upset, he went and he beat his dad for hours, he said. And he said that this guy, Terry Crews, I was listening to the podcast, he said at the end of the beating, he didn't feel better. He said, even though he got revenge, he thought he should feel better, but he didn't feel better at all. And you're like, what? Right? He says, I realized at that point, beating my father up, it didn't help. It didn't make me feel better. I felt just as bad or even more empty. Right? And, when you listen to this, it's not only the Bible, but these people who reach these high levels, they're like, yeah, they're reaching that level. And you know what's even crazier? People who are like Stoic philosophy, the people who are following this, they're called Stoics, right? And these Stoics are very interesting because what they do is they take a vow of silence. So they will not speak at all so they can focus on a certain task. They will not speak. So in this movie, this guy would stop speaking until he got revenge on his wife and daughter. So you're talking months, never spoke. But the interesting thing he said was, the moment he stopped speaking is the moment he started to hear things better. His senses of his hearing became so much better. So I was just like, wow. This last thing, this third quote I thought was really amazing. This is from Marcus Aurelius, once again, Roman emperor, 2,000 years ago, which means roughly the same, about 100 years after Jesus. He in his personal diary, he says, if something is possible for any other man, it is possible for you too. Tell me that's deep if you think about that. If something is possible for any other man, it is possible for you too. And you look at this and it's like, wow. You never look at it that way. But we see that these people who reach a very, very high level in life, in action, in deeds, in thoughts, their thoughts become very, very similar, right? And the only difference was Jesus was at this level and plus even higher than that level because he was connected to God. And that's why we see very, very similar philosophies when you reach the very deep high levels. Like, look at, guys, you might think this is sacrilegious, but go ahead and take a look at what Buddha writes. Buddha doesn't write about killing people. He talks about kindness. He talks about you get paid according to what you've done, right? That's what karma is, right? What comes around goes around. What goes around comes around, whatever it is, right? And that's the same as you get paid according to what you've done, right? Very, very similar, right? Being kind to each other. And it's something that my point here is not to go out and start reading these books. My point is, if you reach that high level, that elite level, my realization is like, wow, if you reach that level, then you will start to understand these things really deeply and it'll just come out of your lips because that's the way you live. And I hope it's something that all of us too when Sunseem says take action to the extreme, that's what he really means. You'll finally begin to realize, understand his 심정 that deeply, right? And just listening to this person 2,000 years ago, right? Roman emperor, you think that this guy's a nutball, he's so primitive. This guy's actions, you could tell he was a great person, because think about it. Best words are opinion and not fact. Only action is truth. The best revenge is to be unlike your enemies. And if something is possible for any other man, it is possible for you too. I was like, if we can reach that level using God's words, can you imagine what level we'd reach? Right? And this person, Marcus Aurelius, is being read 2,000 years later. And I hope that's something that we can also understand too, that this is something that all of us can achieve and reach also. Okay? But even higher, because we're going to be using it with the words of God. All right, so that is my thoughts for the week. Hope it's something that you guys can really think about also. Yeah, it's really deep when you think about it, right? It sounds like the Bible. It sounds like what Sunseem says, because that's the level that these people are living in. All right, so that is the end of today's thoughts of the week. Hope you guys really, really enjoyed that more than anything else, which means we're going to get into, not getting to anything. That was the last segment for today, right? So that means, well, next time we're going to see you tomorrow, which is Friday. Going to be a nice, wonderful day. Why? Because it's the end of the week and the weekend's here. And tomorrow I'll be broadcasting from my cousin's house with the 3 dogs. All right. So everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.